Okay, so I'm going to teach a rather unusual topic tonight. As I alluded to earlier on, I don't think anybody's ever taught this subject before and probably never will again. So for one night only. Um, some of you probably don't even know the word Qi Gong. Now you may have heard of the words Tai Chi Chuan, for example, Tai Chi. You might know these words. Yes, okay, people are nodding their heads. So Tai Chi and Qi Gong are the kind of things you'll see Chinese people practicing in the park in the morning. So have these gentle, slow flowing movements and so on. Tai Chi Chuan is one form of it. It tends to be a very long form, which is in fact a martial art, but not many people know that. But it just happens to be a martial art that, when it's practiced in this way, has health benefits as well. But Tai Chi Chuan, particularly nowadays as it's practiced, is more or less practiced just for the health. It is a form of Qi Gong. Qi Gong would translate as energy work. Okay. Qi here meaning energy here, and that's the central concept. But Qi Gong is actually a very big umbrella term. There are tens of thousands of forms of Qi Gong in China. There's so many Chinese. So they come up with many, many families and systems of Qi Gong. Some of them are officially sanctioned by the hospitals as their main way of treating people. Normally, they won't give you medicine immediately, unlike go to the doctor here, straight away they hand the pill out. Here, they'll in China, they'll normally have you practice Qigong first before they give you any pills. Try this first, because it's very well known for its health benefits. But Qigong has these moving forms, and it also actually has meditative forms, sitting forms. Not a lot of people know this. And actually, it's a very, very deep tradition. It's what I practiced in for many, many years, teaching even from university. And it's a very ancient tradition of what's called inner alchemy, transforming energies and consciousness through meditation. And it's not very widely known. Again, this is very esoteric stuff. But I've been quite lucky to study with some of the top Qi Gong masters of the world in this. Before I discovered the top Buddhist masters, I was studying with the top Taoist masters. So I've been quite lucky to study with quite a lot of Qi Gong masters. So I'm going to show you a couple of these in Qi Gong. Fire and water tradition, which is one I heavily focused on. And there's also one called the water tradition. I actually think the distinction is not that genuine. I think that they're more or less similar. Fire and water as an elemental thing, very, very easy to understand, but as a practice in meditation, it is using two polarized qualities to transform. Now, usually what they're transforming here is sexual energy. Okay, in this tradition that they're using, traditionally, they'll be having both one, sexual energy, and which is a watery type of energy, a very dense, heavy type of energy when it's felt. And then another energy that they use is what's called Jing, which is very, very energy, but it's also a kind of the general power of the body. And it's something that martial artists in particular, this special energy which develops real power behind it. It's the power behind Tai Chi Chuan in particular. They're trying to transform this Jing into Qi. Qi is vitality. It is an energy that has vitality and has a very different feeling to it. When it flows through the body, it heals the body in particular. Very nourishing for the body. It can lead to long life and health. That's partly why they're doing it, is on the health side. So a lot of the the forms of Qi Gong are actually about this kind of subject. They're drawing in Qi from external sources and using it to heal the body and so on. But this way, they're actually from outside, they're actually transforming something that's very gross and dense, something like the sexual energy or this power energy, and then transforming it into vitality and transforming it into a subtle energy which nourishes directly the internal organs and the whole body, in fact. So that's one stage, and it's what we call these three treasures here. One's called Jing, very difficult to translate, but I'm translating it here as this kind of power or sexual energy at the same time. Two things, two aspects to it. Qi, which is this vitality, and the last one was Shen, or spirit, tends to be how they translate it. But in practice, as we experience these three things, and as we're meditating in the fire and water tradition, what they do is this. They take the sexual energy from basically the perineum area and sexual organ area. They draw that energy upwards, which feels, as a feeling, it feels like mercury. And alchemically, it often is represented as mercury. It feels very dense, very heavy type of energy. And they're drawing it up traditionally into the belly area in one place called the Dantian, which translates as a field of elixir, as a place where they're doing this alchemy. The alchemy is being done internally. So they have this little area in the body. They draw this liquid in there. Sometimes they will literally imagine, like we visualize, they visualize a cauldron there. And they try to bring this energy into it. And then they will develop some heat, this fire aspect. Sometimes, many techniques that they use for developing heat. Sometimes it's breathing techniques. Sometimes it's drawing on other heat that they have in other parts of the body, like the heart area, and drawing this heart fire down underneath this water. And then it creates this strange sensation of this heavy, dense energy turning into steam. And this steam feels wonderful and feels very nourishing. And this is the Qi. So Qi, and the actual Chinese character, is like steam coming up. And that's how it feels. It feels like a kind of steam. So this energy that we can feel inside the body has a whole spectrum of states of it. Just like the states of matter. We have solid matter, we have gas, a liquid, we have gas, and actually nowadays you may say plasma nowadays is the last one. But it's the same on the internal side, that we can feel these kind of energies inside of ourselves. We have to develop inner senses to do it, but we actually have these ability to develop this. I'm saying this because you'll notice that you're doing the R technique that there's something very similar going on. That's why I'm teaching this. So in the fire tradition and fire and water tradition, they're trying to take some kind of fiery energy, like the heart energy, for example, putting it underneath this heavy water energy to turn it into steam. That's what they're traditionally doing in the fire and water tradition. Later on, they will then take this steam type energy and then sublimate that again until it becomes light. And they will take this steamy energy and they'll run it through the energy channels in the body. And you've all done, I think, most of you have done the blocked energy meridians talk I gave on this. So we have all these energy channels in the body, some of them very, very important trunk roads of the body that the energy runs through, like the spine, okay, and also down the front of the body. So they'll use this energy then to clean out these meridians. It's a very pure and powerful energy, and they can then use it to clean out all the meridians, which again boosts their health, but can also boost the mind, because there's a strong correlation between the mind and personality and these energy channels. It is, in a way, you could call it the if the mind is the software, this is the hardware, this is the actual way it's being structured. So they're working on a very direct level on the mind, and unblocking their life through doing this. It's a very strange practice, but that's the way it works. So they use this to unblock it, and it develops after a while light, which they're doing called Shen. So they're turning Qi into Shen. They have an experience of inner light. Very similar to what many of us have experienced in meditation as well. So they have these three treasures that they're doing. In the water tradition, they have a slightly different approach. They're focusing much more on the blockages, these blocked energy meridians. They focus on the blockages, these muscle knots and this tension that they feel in different parts of the body, where it feels very solid. When you're doing a body scan, in some places when you do your body scan, you go through very easily as if there's nothing there. But there's some areas where it feels uncomfortable, it feels solid, feels heavy, feels compacted. These are these kind of energy blockages. And so in the water tradition, they then put their focus there on one of these blockages. And then by focusing on it, it starts to turn liquid. It becomes fluid. It starts to move around and swirl a bit. Then they keep focusing on it until it becomes gaseous. And then they lead it out of the body, through the aura and outside, so that they remove the blockage and the pattern from the body and from their life and personality. And these kind of traumas that we're carrying, they can literally remove it like this. That's what they're doing in the water tradition. I think that the distinction is slightly fake, because actually they are using a fire, and that fire is the power of concentration. When they're focusing their intention and attention on it, that is the fire. It's like a magnifying glass on a piece of paper. The sunlight goes through the magnifying glass and burns the paper. That's effectively what they're doing. And that's very important to understand in terms of what we do in our meditation. Because whenever you put your attention, your focused attention somewhere, that has a very real effect in terms of transforming what is there. In fact, in the basis of Qi Gong is this. In the Chinese, they say that the Yi leads the Qi. The Yi meaning here the intention. So if I said to you, for example, feel your left hand, your Yi, your intention, commands it to go to the left hand. And so you're now all feeling your left hand. What then happens is that the Qi energy will start to be drawn to there. And so after a while of feeling your left hand like this, you'll start to feel it tingle. Something will start to change in the left hand. So do it as I'm saying it. After a while, you'll start feeling the left hand tingle. Then the Qi leads the blood. And it will actually, sometimes you can physically see it when you do this, that the hand changes color slightly compared to the other one. It is a very strange thing. But the tingling, and sometimes you'll get little white blotches on the hand as the blood's coming in. It changes a little bit. So you can feel a difference in the temperature between it. Sometimes I like to warm up my feet like this at night. Put my awareness on the feet, and the blood rushes to the feet, nodding heads of maybe work that out as well. So this intention leads the Qi, and that then leads the blood. And that's a process that's always happening, and they're just utilizing it. So when we are doing our body scan, we are unwittingly doing the same thing. And we say, for example, we're going from downwards, right? It's like there is a Qi Gong form where they push the energy out of the head, and they imagine pushing all the energy down the body to the feet in order to relax them before they go to sleep. As a way of cooling down the body and calming down. And they imagine this pushing it down. We, when we're doing a body scan, are effectively doing the same thing. We're getting all the energy out of our head, because during the day, the energy sort of rises up into the chest and rises up into the head, and the head, so we're racing, and that's why we can't sleep at night. So now we're kind of pulling it all down without realizing it when we do that body scan downwards. sinking, what they call sinking the qi, sinking the energy down, which is a key concept in Qi Gong and Tai Chi in particular. So when we're doing this body scan, we're already doing a Qi Gong without realizing it, And we'd bring it all the way down to the feet, and then it drains out into the earth, because there's energy points on the soles of the feet which connect to the ground. It's the roots of the body, as that they describe it. And so when they do Qigong and Tai Chi, for example, they have to be very connected to the ground, so they can't be pushed over, for example. And they bring their energy down to the ground and root it that way. So we're discharging all this extra energy we've built up during the day. We're taking it out of the head, we're taking it right down the body, we're taking it down to the feet, to the soles of the feet, and it discharges the excess energy without us even knowing it. So there's a hidden aspect of even the simple process of a body scan. But what we're doing is even more than that, because that's a flowing technique. That is, we're moving our awareness. But there's a whole bunch of forms which are used when you're not moving your awareness. You're keeping it in one place. For example, there's a standing Qigong, and they just stand there with their hands over their navel. And they'll stand there like an hour, sometimes longer, just standing there with their hands over the navel. That's the whole practice. And it is well reputed to be one of the strongest and best forms of Qigong. How? Why? There's an energy center on the center of the palms. Big, powerful energy, swirls of energy that come out of these palms that they use in Tai Chi and Qigong to send energy. They do it in healing. When we do hands-on healing, for example, Reiki, if you ever heard of Reiki, which is a Japanese form of hands-on healing, which I've done before, I'm a qualified teacher. Or you do the Taoist form of energy healing, which again, we're drawing different energies and sending the energy out, always using these points. And they put both points over the navel, which is one of the chakras of the body in the Indian system, a big wheel of energy there. And they just keep that there. So the focus all goes on the navel. And what happens? It draws energy to the navel into this wheel. And that they draw it there because that is connected to the front channel. It's connected to basically all the other channels. It's the big hub of the energy system is in the navel. There are many forms of massage, which both Indian massage, Chinese massage, and Japanese massage, which just work on the abdomen and around the navel area. Because like saying you can almost treat everything just from this area because it connects to everything. And so they just build up the energy there on the navel. It goes, radiates out to everywhere else. It overflows from the navel into these channels, and it overflows from those big rivers into all the streams of the energy body, like the meridians that we have our acupuncture in, flows over into that and recharges up the whole body with energy just by doing that right now. I'd love to do some Qigong with you one day, teach you Qigong. Within 10 minutes, you'll be feeling your Qi. Everybody. It's very easy and very quick to feel it. A little practice. You've maybe done this before. And you feel the energy between the hands very easily, like the hands are magnets. So when we go through the 7 bases, particularly in the way I led it just earlier on, I'm spending a long time on each one of those 7 bases quite deliberately. And you notice I didn't even do a visualization this time. And we're just putting awareness on one of the bases at a time. So, for example, the first, and I spend a long time on the first, just allow this awareness, which is very scattered. Normally awareness is jumping from the left side to the right side, hand to leg, to here, this itch, that itch. It's all over the place. But as we put a focal point on it, it's like something is pooling into one place. And you'll notice after a while that the awareness doesn't go down to the foot anymore. It doesn't go down to the left hand anymore. It's just more or less here. You've probably noticed that. It's like something is converging in that area. And that is what's happening. The Qi is starting to converge in that area. And as it converges, it coalesces. It coalesces into a ball of energy. And that just automatically. And so we actually are getting a ball of energy around the first base of the mind. The energy centers, whether it's a chakra that we have, all these points on the hands and feet and so on, these little acupuncture points or big acupuncture points, they are all little like little magnets. So when you put your awareness there, it has a pull to it that can hold your attention there. So when we go on these 7 bases of the mind, which are also energy centers, you'll notice that it keeps your awareness there. It's like it pulls it back to it. It has a gravity of its own. Have you noticed this? It has a gravity of its own keeping you there. And it feels natural to go onto some of these, and it'll stay there, stay reasonably stably, in a way that if you weren't focusing on an energy center, it wouldn't have that stability to it. And that's really why we're doing it, particularly on the 7th base of the mind. It's where it can be the most stable and can safely hold an enormous amount of energy. Some of these energy centers cannot hold much energy. They're little. It's like on a little stream. It cannot hold that much energy. But the center of the body, it can take any amount of energy you throw at it. Okay, and that's the real battery of the body. Same in Qi Gong and Tai Chi. In Qi Gong and Tai Chi, they'll focus all their ocean of energy on the Dantian, which is, for them, it's below the navel in the center of the body. And they'll do all their movements drawing from this battery. They'll keep a lot of their attention there, and a little bit on a hand and a little bit on somewhere else, powering it from this battery inside of them. So they're always building up the energy there. We are always keeping our mind on the 7th base of the mind at the center of the body. What that's doing is it's pooling energy, continually charging up energy, condensing it, coalescing it into a ball of energy. Now, that's the crucial bit here in what we're doing, is that if you were just to place your attention in one spot, that automatically happens that it starts to condense. But what can happen is that as it condenses, it can become tight. It can become narrow, heavy, focused, compressed quite easily if we're not careful about this. So just as in the fire and water tradition, they visualize, for example, a cauldron to hold their energy, their focus there in a place so it doesn't spill over and out. We often use a visualization like a crystal ball. A crystal ball is acting like a containment field so that the energy doesn't slip out, so to speak. But so even if we don't visualize it and we just put our awareness in that area, your awareness can be very narrow or it can be very big. You can choose how the size of this awareness. If at any time you feel your awareness is becoming uncomfortably small and tight, like you're jabbing at the center of the body, that says you're doing it wrong. And it's something that can very easily happen and very common to happen. It's one of the big obstacles in this technique. Lots of people get this wrong because they concentrate. When they concentrate, it tends to narrow down, just as if you were trying to read a book or look at the screen. You're focusing your mind down. And you do that at the center of the body, and it gets all tight. It gets all uncomfortable. You've experienced this. I'm sure you probably have experienced this at times. Yeah, it's a common obstacle. So what you have to do is keep your awareness fairly loose, baggy, expanded, spacious. It's not like focusing it down into a point. You're keeping it very expanded, but not so expanded that it loses any focus at all and just starts drifting off to the left, to the right, all over the place. So it's getting that balance. It's really key part of this technique, of this, and particularly if you understand it in the Qi Gong fashion, you'll understand that if you over-focus it, it will condense down into a hard ball of energy. Whereas if you have a really big cauldron, so to speak, it sloshes around to the left leg, the right leg, and all over the place. So you want to keep it contained to a particular area in the center of the body, or on one of the other bases of the mind. But later on, the center of the body is the one. What we are then doing is, as that energy is building up there, if we're not over focusing, if we're getting the right balance, we're actually, because our attention is like a fire, just as I described. It's like a lens that we're putting on it. It's heating up this energy that's arising there. So the qi is drawn to it, and we're heating it up. And what happens is you will feel in the center of the body, at the beginning, you might feel like it's solid, or more likely liquid. You'll feel there's something kind of liquidy in the center of the body. And then after a while, it becomes more gaseous. And it becomes, at that point, the boundaries between the body and the environment start to disappear. As your awareness becomes more like a gas, it starts to expand beyond the body. And that's what a lot of you will have probably experienced at some point, this sensation of something just rising, expanding outwards. And that's when you're starting to turn this energy into a gas. And that's where you're also developing qi. And one of the side effects of it is normally it will start to feel comfortable, pleasant. And as we develop it, that gaseous energy, if we go with the flow of it, and this is what people make a mistake on sometimes, is that they keep on going back down to the center of the body. Okay, and they think that I have to focus at the center of the body, but the body is just the base of it. Okay, if you go back to the body, which is blood, which is intestines, which is heavy, coarse, gross, physical, you're never going to lift off. Actually, at this point, you're wanting to forget all about the body and go with this feeling of energy, of gaseousness, lightness, expansion, and go with that. Forget the body at that point, otherwise you'll never take off. And that's something that many people struggle with. You're getting this language? It's very subtle language, but it's the language of inner experience. It's a sensation of being larger or expanded. As you go with that, this gaseous energy then also starts to sublimate. It starts to be transformed into a kind of plasma, into light. And that's when you start to see the colors. That's when you start to see flashes. Like you've seen one of those plasma balls in the shop, you know? You get little flashes of this. You start to get flashes of light, flashes of color, sometimes sheets and rolling sheets of color, light, and so on forming. That is, you're now generating out of this qi that you've formed, you're then transforming it further into what they would call shen, into spirit. This is the energy which really powers up your consciousness. And this is the bit that really starts touching on the good feelings of happiness, and as it develops into bliss. These are real emotional, spiritual states that you're affecting. And that, when we now go with that, we can now almost forget the kind of gaseous quality, that spacious quality. We can now go with the light. We're observing the light that's there. You understand me? You can now, you let go of the old, let go of the, there's one of the greatest meditators who was a teacher of, the first teacher of Kunyajan, the nun who founded our temple. She was also a nun, and well, actually they became nuns together, in fact. And when she leads meditation, she would always say, let go of the coarse, go into the refined. Let go of the coarse, go into the refined. Let go of the coarse, go into the refined. And meditation is a continual process of this. Very subtle here, okay? So, for example, you've let go of the physical body to go into this spaciousness that's developing. And that starts, to expanding. So we let go of the body entirely and just become this space. And then the light starts coming. So we then sort of forget about that spaciousness. Now we're becoming into the world of light and color. Then that light and color will start to condense by itself into a center. There'll be some part of the light which is brighter than the others. That will itself condense into like crystal, condense into a crystal ball or a Buddha image made of crystal, for example. It will by itself condense into something pure. It will condense into purity. That itself will become your new object of focus. You understand me? The same process goes. Let go of the course, go with the new, drawing it, going forwards in this way. That in itself will find its own kind of condensation at the center of it. It will condense into a point of light. And at that point of light then expands into something that's purer than the previous one, like another Buddha image, or another crystal ball that pops up, brighter, clearer, more refined than the previous one. And then if you stay at the center there, it continually sublimates, becoming more and more refined, and experiencing it as more and more refined crystal balls or Buddha images popping up one by one, like you described to me. And the feeling also becomes more and more refined and more powerful as you go along. Continually more and more happiness all the way while it's carrying on. Depending on how long you're able to sustain it for, the more refined and happier and profound it becomes. Until you're getting such a high frequency that's been developed here. Because this is all, it's very much like a frequency. Each of these states are on this gross, coarse frequency into something much more ethereal, refined, and subtle. So it reaches the very limits of what this dimension can take. And then it sublimates and switches state from this dimension, bang, into another dimension, to your inner dimension, to your inner self. Sometimes all the way to the inner self all in one go, or what we call the Dhammakaya. So, and sometimes it does, bang, just like that. It happens all in one go. So that is a process of what I would call sublimation of the coarse state of consciousness into a very refined state of consciousness. And we can actually learn how to then maintain it all the time. Ultimately, we can maintain that higher state of consciousness all the time. And one of the main practices that helps that, of course, is mindfulness. So we're keeping the same process at the center of the body going all the time, all 24 hours a day, and then continually refining our consciousness, elevating it up so that that's the thing that allows us to sort of transcend the states of mind where we're depressed and easily irritated and so on. Why is it that when we meditate a lot, we seem to have a better state of mind, a better mood than if we're not meditating? When you're not meditating, so if you now go back and you've missed a few days, life has caught up, and you say, why am I feeling so more stressed or hot and bothered? You'll notice it. Before you meditate, you just got used to being hot and bothered and easily stressed and ratty, And now that we're meditating, positive state of mind and, brushing these things off. I mean, that's a process of elevating the consciousness through this refinement process. The mind and the energy, they're kind of very linked here. You can look at it from different angles. In the Qi Gong approach, they're taking it, looking at this kind of almost like matter. I mean, it's immaterial, but it's an energy, and how to transform it in this way. So I do find that this form of meditation can be practiced as a Qi Gong technique in this way. As I led it in the first section, I didn't do any visualization whatsoever when I led that meditation. In actual fact, our abbot, the abbot in Thailand, when he attained Dhammakaya, he didn't do any visualization at that time. He tried it and got nowhere. And and boom, it happened all by itself in a natural way. But there is a way of doing it where we're putting our mind at the center in as I described before, in a sort of loose, baggy way, mindfulness, but not overly mindful, and it then develops in this way. And you just go with it, go with it, go with it. Which way you practice is a very personal choice and will depend also sometimes on your mood and the day. I don't always do the same technique every time. No one does. Most of the monks will always, session by session, see what our mood is. Sometimes we'll do it in that way, this non-visual way. Other times we'll do the whole visual approach, depending. And you have to tune into yourself at each time and what's feeling natural for you at that time. You know, try out the visual approach. No, that's not working. Okay, we'll try it this way. Try it in the non-visual approach that time. But at the end of the day, whether you're doing a visual approach or non-visual approach, it's really the same thing that you're doing. It's the same thing that you're doing. And you'll end up seeing, either way, you end up seeing the same thing anyway. You know. So that's my talk. It's 9:15. Questions on this rather deep and esoteric subject, I will take right now.
You study Qi Gong before